Hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming. Today, we will be celebrating North Shore's Juneteenth celebrations here in Salem. My name is Julio Mota, Mayor's Office for the City of Salem. I would like to introduce Reverend Andre Bennett to the stage. Kick us off and say a few words.
Good morning. Good morning. It's never easy to start something when you're Reverend Andre. Because, Reverend Andre gets very into it. But this is Salem, I want to say thank you, firstly. I think this is my third or fourth year here doing this. And I want you to understand how absolutely important this is. But I also want you to understand that this is by no means the end of the work that needs to be done. You see, kudos to North Shore Juneteenth, Nicole and her team for leading the charge across not just the North Shore, but at this point across Massachusetts, to ensure that the day gets the acknowledgement that it needs and deserves. But I want to quote the words from one of my favorite groups of all time, Sweet Honey in the Rock, where they say that we who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Until the killings of black men, black mothers' sons, is as important as the killing of white men, white mothers' sons. We who believe in freedom, we cannot rest until it comes. And that's what we're doing. We're refusing to rest. We're refusing to think that just because Juneteenth is deemed now a federal holiday, that means the job is done so we can rest. Yes, it's a federal holiday, but people that look like me, people that are black and brown, indigenous, people of color, women, we are not fully free in this country. We are still fighting every single day, day and night for our freedom. We are fighting for equal rights and for justice. We are fighting for women to have the right to choose, to make decisions about their own bodies. We are fighting so that my son can wear a hooded shirt and not be deemed a criminal element. We are fighting so that blacks and browns in this country, we can have not more or better housing, but we can have equal housing. We can have not more and better schools, but we can have equal schools. Like I told the folks in Swampscott and Beverly, the reason why when we fight for certain things it is considered better is because those that oppose us know that they would not settle for what they're asking us to settle for. That is why it's considered better housing. But that's not what we're asking for. We're asking for equal housing. We're asking if our white counterparts live in good, safe communities, then we should be allowed to live in good, safe communities. After all, we built this empire. I will try not to repeat the woes of Melrose and speak too long. We are simply saying if our white counterpart children don't have to be patted down by police officers every morning and traumatized when they go into schools, then our children shouldn't have to do it. We're saying if our white counterparts, and when I say your, don't take personal offense to it unless you are a part of the opposition. But what we're saying is if your children get $15,000 per student for their school district, then our children should get $15,000 per student for their school district. If If you can call the police, if our white counterparts can call the police and the police show up at your house and sit with you and drink beer and talk, then they shouldn't show up at our house and pull guns and batons on our people. That's what we're fighting for. We who believe in freedom, we cannot, we will not, and we must not rest until it comes. Sister Liz Wright, she said, I don't know how my mother walked her troubles out. I don't know how my father stood his ground. I don't know how my people survived slavery. I do remember that's what I believe, and I've been echoing this message. It is our belief that keeps us going. It is not that Reverend Andre loves to yell at people, but I believe that the messages that we bring, that somebody will hear them, that this country will receive them, and that this country will find it in their hearts to love us the way we love them. It is our belief that pushes us. It is our belief that keeps us going. It is our belief that keeps us fighting. It is our belief that caused a record number of black and people of color to run for offices in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, even though you keep telling us that we are not qualified and we are not capable, even though you keep inviting us to the conversation but kicking us out of the room. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. And so, Salem, do I still have 2 more minutes? You got 2 more minutes. And so, Salem, here is what I say to us this morning. While we continue to do this exercise every year, raising the Juneteenth banner, and we raise the rainbow flag, and we do all the festivities, when the day or the week or the month has subsided, do not go into your houses and close your doors and wait for it to happen all again next year. You need to get out and do the work. You need to support us. Allyship, as I've said before, doesn't look like you leading the way. That is not what allyship is. Allyship is providing us with the resources and allowing us to lead our own way, because we know what is best for us. We know what we need and how we need it when we need it. You don't know what is best for us. And so as Dr. Martin Luther King, I'm wrapping up, I mean it. And so as Dr. Martin Luther King, give me a break, I'm a Baptist preacher. As Dr. Martin Luther King says, power without love, it is reckless and abusive. Power without love is reckless and abusive. And as we enter into the new election cycle, or we're in the election cycle, we don't have to look far to see reckless and abusive kind of power. The kind of power that is banning books and is trying to erase the African American history in this country, that has deemed critical race theory and DEI as dangerous and indoctrination. That is reckless and abusive kind of power. That is the kind of power that seeks to continue to oppress and suffocate and snuff out the voice of an entire race of people that build this empire. But Dr. King continued. He said, love without power. So remember, power without love is reckless and abusive. But he continued, he said, love without power is sentimental and anemic. So you love us, and you love what we stand for, and you love the melanin in our skin, you love the locks on my head, you love the things that we do, the way we worship, but you don't want to invite us to help make some of the decision. That is anemic and sentimental kind of love. You love raising the banner, but you don't want to put us on city government to help make decisions. You love when we talk about our children, but you don't want to put us on school committees to make decisions for our children. You love when we march, you love when we sing, but you don't want to give us the power. It is sentimental and anemic, and we don't need that kind of love. It's 2023. We are about to see a potential convict get nominated for the presidency of this country. Yet there are people in my congregation who still can't vote today because they made an error sometime in their lives. We who believe in freedom cannot, must not, and will not rest until it comes. God bless you this morning. Mr. Mayor, I was told you come next. I'm sorry, sir. But I'm sure you have more informative things to tell the people than I did.
I drew the short straw, okay? Thank you, Reverend. And thanks to Nicole and the Juneteenth Association for making this event possible today. I also want to recognize our elected officials who are here, District Attorney Paul Tucker, our members of our school committee and our city council, State Senator Joan Lovely, State Representative Manny Cruz. It's an honor to be with you this morning for my first Juneteenth celebration as your mayor. And on behalf of the city of Salem, I'm proud to join all of you in raising these flags today to mark this important date. I'll be brief. I want to start with the pledge of the city's commitment to honoring the legacy and the lessons of what this day means and why we're here, and to say without equivocation or condition, Black Lives Matter. And this is what we're doing here. This is our third year, I think, raising the Juneteenth flags. It is late in happening. It took almost 160 years for federal recognition of a day to amplify the story of the freedom of enslaved Black people. Just the day. And we should be self-reflective that our own efforts, our own Race Equity Commission, for example, right here in Salem, is just a year old. We are late to this conversation. We have to own that. We can't change it, but we're showing up for it. Thank you for the honor of being able to join you for this special day and for the opportunity to celebrate Juneteenth with all of you. We do have a long road still to travel in this work, but my commitment is that Salem will be there with you all on that journey. Thank you. Happy Juneteenth, and it gives me great pleasure to present the proclamation of the day to the North Shore Juneteenth Association. We're going to share the reading of it.
Okay.
You want to go first?
Okay. Whereas President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, declaring the enslaved people and Confederate territories to be free and paving the way for the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, abolishing slavery in this nation, and
whereas on June 19, 1865, U.S. Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, to deliver the news and announce the American government's emancipation of enslaved Black peoples there and throughout the nation. And
whereas the occasion of this date, Juneteenth, has been celebrated and commemorated by Black Americans from that year until now, becoming an official state holiday in Texas in 1980, with the states of Hawaii, Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota following thereafter, and
whereas the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture has called Juneteenth our country's second Independence Day, and
whereas our nation today is facing a new awakening as to the legacy of systemic racism that pervades and permeates our society, institutions, and systems of law. And
whereas in our city, our Commonwealth, and our country, the lives of Black residents matter.
Whereas Salem has a proud history as an inclusive, reflective, and welcome community to all, now and therefore,
I, Dominic Pangallo, Mayor of the City of Salem, and on behalf of its residents, do proclaim this day, June 19th, 2023, to be Juneteenth in Salem, and call upon all residents of Salem to celebrate and reflect on this date's historic significance accordingly, including by attending or viewing the city's official Juneteenth flag raising, which this year takes place June 19th, 10 o'clock a.m. at Riley Plaza.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. And before I bring up our member and speaker for the North Shore Juneteenth Association, I want to thank Gigi for the purchasing of all 12 flags here. He donated, and I really do appreciate that. And I also want to say that this has been a goal of mine to have these flags in this plaza. I remember driving by and seeing all the pride flags here, and I was always like, oh, what if one day they're all Juneteenth flags? And today is that day, so thank you so much. And let me please bring up Kayshawn Little. He is a member and also a valuable asset to the North Shore Juneteenth Association. Kayshawn.
Oh, I just had it. Oh, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Happy Juneteenth. Before I begin, the last few weeks has been kind of rough for me, but as always, every time Reverend speaks, I get goosebumps and motivated and fired up and ready to go. So with that being said, I want to make sure that y'all are fired up and ready to go. So when I say, can I proceed? I want you to say, yes, indeed. Can I proceed?
Yes, indeed.
Can I proceed?
Yes, indeed.
Let's do this. My name is Kayshawn Little. I am from New London, North Carolina. I work as a licensed social worker for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Children and Family. So today is a little personal for me because my starting grounds was right here in Salem at the Salem office, November 2017. I drove 18 hours to be a social worker. And thank you. And one of my first experience, because I want y'all to remember this as I do my speech, one of my first experience that I encountered, everyone know how busy Washington Street is, right? Yeah, I don't like that street either. I was being followed by a police officer from Beverly. They were telling me because I had a North Carolina license plate. So they were telling me, and as I was going through Salem and I get to the Washington Street walk path, I allowed this family to go by. And then there was another family that was coming, but they were not in the passageways to walk. So I started driving. As I started driving, the officer, he pulls up and tries to like run me off the road because he thought that I was trying to get away. And I was like, no, I was just, getting out the way because I didn't want to have even more traffic jam that we already do have on Washington Street. So as I get pulled over off the side of the road, the officer, he was yelling and screaming at me. And I was just like, no, I was really just trying to get off the side of the road. And I'm on my way to the courthouse because I'm a licensed social worker. I work as an adolescent worker for the department. And he comes back 10 minutes later, and he let me go because he saw my credentials as a licensed social worker. Remember that part now. Another experience that I had is when I go advocate for our children in foster care, you hear my passion and my energy about the importance of our children to be able to have a home where their identity, their culture, and their community stays intact. But when the department people hears my passion, they label it as aggression. And when they label it as aggression, I get called to the principal office as insubordination. So as I'm experiencing this, again, Salem is personal for me. As I'm experiencing this, just because you have credentials, a licensed social worker, or you may have a record, does not give people the right to dehumanize you in your experience as a human being. So when you hear about George Floyd being murdered, the first thing you don't think of is what did he do? The first thing you should think of is why did they do that? Can I proceed?
Yes, indeed.
Can I proceed?
Yes, indeed.
So I just want you to remember that. Just because somebody has credentials or may have a record does not give you the right to treat people the way that they've been treated and be dehumanized, just like our history have treated our people for all these years. So, again, can I proceed? At the end of 2019, I was hired as a foster parent recruiter for the department that covers the Greater Lynn area. As again, I'm also a member of the North Shore Juneteenth Association under the leadership of the first black woman to be the council member in Lynn, Madam President Nicole McCain. The first black woman. When I hear the words free slaves, I hear an oxymoron. Sold to the colonists almost 404 years ago in August 1619, when the first recorded Africans arrived in Virginia. The years of slavery that followed defined the DNA of the country that will be formed here. Millions of years of history, identity, culture, and community have been lost as the results of millions of Africans dying at the sea during the Middle Passage and the slave trade pandemic. Can I proceed?
Yes, indeed.
242 years ago, the greatest American of all time worked as a double agent to help George Washington secure the victory of Battle of Yorktown in 1781. James Armstead Lafayette, I hope the schools are teaching this, was not free even after the war that he was fighting for, the freedom from the crown. James Armstead Lafayette was not even free even after the war. Millions, thousands of our people are fighting for freedom, and when they come back from the war, they still not even free. James Armstead Lafayette, he returned to a life as a slave until 1787. So just imagine that. 6 years after you helped secure the victory for freedom, you're still a slave. Can I proceed?
Yes, indeed.
Now I want y'all to catch this, because this is interesting. Don't let the government tell you they can't do anything for the people. 160 years ago, on April 16, 1862, the District of Columbia Compensated Emancipation Act became law. Pause for a minute to consider how much compensation would have been offered to the people who have suffered torture and other human rights. So what the government was doing, they were compensating the white slave owners. They were giving them reparations for the loss of property that they viewed their slaves. They were getting paid by the government for every slave that they lost. Just remember that. Can I proceed? 160 years ago as well, President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. The proclamation declared that all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states are henceforth shall be free. It declared, another oxymoron, forever free, more than 3.5 million slaves in the Confederate areas still in rebellion against the Union. When the Emancipation Proclamation was declared, there were 4 other states that border the Confederate states that were still practicing slavery, even though the Emancipation Proclamation was declared. There is a timeline of relentless struggle. 400 years of slavery, 100 years of segregation, and unceasing years of oppression and so-called freedom. Can I proceed?
Yes, indeed.
Can I proceed?
Yes, indeed.
We're here today to celebrate not only the freedom of black Americans, but black Americans themselves. Juneteenth is a time to take a look at the complex experience that we have lived through, the realization that we have lived and continue to thrive. It's imperative for us, the world, to acknowledge who we are. Denied education, denied housing, denied life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yet here we are, still becoming scientists, engineers, politicians, and graduating from various education institutions. Here we are, navigating systematic oppression in the best way we can to have culture, community, and purpose. Can I proceed? One of the goals of the North Shore Juneteenth Association is to educate the community on why Juneteenth is important, why you are here today, and why the reason this holiday should be celebrated. 158 years ago, following the General Granger's Juneteenth arrival in Galveston, Texas, to inform 250,000 enslaved people that slavery as they knew it was over. and to tell them to go back to their owners and wait. Many continued to work for their masters because they had no idea what they would do with their newfound freedom and a lack of sense of identity and community. This holiday commemorates the 2 years delay of enslaved black men, women, and children Galveston, Texas experienced before being notified of their freedom. When the Emancipation Proclamation was declared on January 1st, 1863, many of the slave owners were making sure the free slaves were not hearing about their freedom and were sending them deep down south in Texas to continue with slavery. Because Texas was still part of the Confederacy, they were not issuing the orders that would give the black men and the women and children their freedom. General Gordon Granger, along with the Union Army Soldiers of Color, rode in Galveston, Texas, and announced the General Order Number 3, which states, "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation of the Executive of the United States that all slaves are free. This involves the absolute equality of personal rights and the rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connections henceforth existing between them becomes between the employer and the hired labor. That the free men are advised to remain quietly at the president's homes and work for wages. They are informed that they are not be allowed to collect a military post, and that will not be supported in ideals elsewhere." When the order was given, when it was passed around, when people were seeing this information, they were unable to really tap into the same freedoms that each and every one of you are having today. Imagine hearing the words of freedom and being able to own that. Knowing that as a person you have been set free from the early mornings to the late night of hard labor, or your body is all of a sudden yours. That no one has the right to force themselves on you. That news is a cause for celebration. Can I proceed? However, the General Order contained the message of freedom, but also contained the message of entrapment. Will black Americans be supportive in the lawful right to be free? Juneteenth has celebrated annually on June 19th in various parts of the United States since 1867. Juneteenth 1865 was the beginning for what is next for black Americans' identity, culture, and community. The day was recognized as a federal holiday on June 17, 2021. President Joseph Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act into law. So, why Juneteenth? Can I proceed?
Yes, indeed.
Can I proceed?
Yes, indeed.
Juneteenth is important because it holds the message of freedom and hope. The day symbolized the idea of slavery in America to be over. The star that you will see on the flag represents freedom for African Americans in all 50 states. The freedom and hope is what enslaved black Americans held on to. They knew they were free, and the first step was all that mattered. The full staircase was of no consequence. They were ready to take it one step at a time. Look how far we have climbed, we continue to climb. Can I proceed?
Yes, indeed.
The burst that's on the flag, that surrounds the star on the flag, symbolized the new beginnings for blacks in America. A commitment to identity, culture, and community. Can I proceed?
Yes, indeed.
The art symbolized a new horizon, the opportunity and the promise that lays ahead for black Americans. Even though I don't feel free yet, I feel the power, our strength, our resilience, our intelligence, and our beauty, just as the world does. Although the blood and sweat and tears of my ancestors are proof of the debt unpaid, the red, white, and blue, the same red, white, and blue symbolize that blacks are Americans. As Americans, we pay into a corporation or institution, if you will, because it's lawful to do so. But again, when you see that flag raising, it's a reminder of what our people and what our people do today as we continue to fight for this idea of freedom. Can I proceed? Today, in the spirit of Juneteenth, we want to foster unity in our commitment of the works ahead. With unity, it shows our power, our strength, our resilience, our intelligence, and beauty, and how we maintain our identity, culture, and community. Let us celebrate how far we have come, but never lose sight of how far we have to go. The North Shore Juneteenth Association wish you all a happy Juneteenth. And please, whatever you do, without a shadow of doubt, please follow and support us as we continue to bring the education and the knowledge and the energy as we continue to fight against all the harms that's causing in our community. Because what is going on with the black folks, Hispanic folks, even our LGBT community affects all of us. So again, in a spirit of unity, please support us as much as you possibly can. Thank you, and happy Juneteenth.
I believe up next is Miss Davenport. Miss Davenport? Oh, sorry, Michelle La Poetica. If you could please come up.
I am an endangered species, and I sing no victim song. I am a woman, I am an artist, and I know where my voice belongs. And there are people in your life that have earned your truth. Beams. They support you and hold you up even when your earthquakes, they remain steady. They see past the muck, past the field of debris left after your last crash landing or your last collision with a meteor. Some hates and gates be out of this world, and their teachers and keepers too. What to do, what to do. If hate begets hate, monkey see, monkey do. Do as I say, not as I do. Some not knowing, some fully aware that they do as they see and repeat what they hear. Profoundly wounded by life and all of its struggles. Compartment syndrome. You're bleeding out on the inside. Pressure builds, and the only way to survive it without suffering permanent loss of function, life, or existence is by releasing pressure. This is how I release and relieve the pressure that robs me of my ability to breathe daily. The irony. I reclaim my breath when I take yours away. I lose myself in a poem, in a performance, so that you can feel me, see me, so that you can find you and free me from the darkness that forever tries to consume me. If I took you upon a ride upon my roller coaster, would you even survive the high highs and the low lows? The air is thinner up there, and it's thicker down here. In both cases, you still can't breathe, and the middle don't want you, so how do you survive? How have I? Balance. Or the relentless pursuit of it. Not happiness, because I now understand that true happiness comes from genuine balance. The more aspects of you that are balanced, the more genuine and enduring the happiness will be. A shift of the scales could be devastating for someone like me. My scales for far too long have been balanced by air propelled from the wind beneath my own wings. No care, no love, just fire and steam. Ream after ream of thoughts, dreams, wishes, and emotions accumulate and become beams in their own right. Able to withstand the darkest flood, and so much soul on those pages that once the atmosphere settles and the waters reside, there's no rust here. There's nothing foul here, because this type of magic, this type of beam is undeniably resilient and resistant to the point where even the most microscopic remnants of me can fill a space like this with resonance. Do you see? Do you feel? Do you hear me? That's what I am. That's who I be. I am the soul that made you see what you felt when you heard how I feel, learn how I deal, and remember how I told it. Italicize, highlight, and boldly engrave it in the most profound depths of your being. What you be in real life, looking like an apology to the universe for not having found this version of yourself sooner. The universe looks at you and says, shh, child, don't apologize. Remember who you are. Recuerda quién tú eres. Aun cuando aparenta o se siente estar sin luz, sigue siendo ella. Radiante en su existencia, llena, nueva a media, sigue siendo bella. The moon does not apologize when she is full. Neither do I, and neither should you. And you should be thankful that we as artists shine brightest when we are most empty. That even though your accolades, praises, and even love can ring loud and plenty, it's not enough. Because I've given you all that I've got. And I still have nothing. My light fills you, the process drains me, and at the end of it all, I have to devise ways and means to refuel and fill my own soul. Because the type of love that I need and want never finds its way into my receivables. And all of the love that I get at the end of the night or of a performance has yet to evolve into anything with the ability to afford me and mine enough stability to not have to struggle or worry. Still, even when eclipsed by the shadow of the earth and sun being in perfect alignment, you still shine. You're still you in all of your phases, moon, because true moons overcome oppressive negativity. Madre, mujer, mover of souls, motivator. Mil maneras of managing minglers, mean fingers que manipulan cuando señalan. Lenguas torcidas, malintencionadas, mencionan a Michelle de manera equivocada. El menosprecio, minimization, rejected and some succeeded mutilation of goals, dreams and expectations ocurre. Pero milagros también. Aparece un lápiz y un papel and from that moment yo pude entender cuál era mi deber exclusivo. Nací para ser poeta, oradora del alma, creative interpreter for emociones manifestadas, manos armadas, con la pluma hecha espada, because toda palabra is a double-edged sword. Una espada de doble filo, and each verse una estrategia, each poem is a battle cry. For you to wake up, levántate, obtén esperanza y entiende que desde lo más superficial hasta lo más profundo, you are the only ones in control of your mundo, and how the actions of others or lack of them te afectan. Soy la apuesta perfecta. Mi misión es cambiar el mundo con mi trifecta, mi talento, mi lápiz y mi libreta. So whether you love me or you hate me, you either fear me or me respeta. Whether my energy repels you or if to you I'm magnética, you will always remember how I made you feel. Pero también recuerda who I am. Yo soy Michelle, la poética. And I stand here before you today as a Dominican woman, daughter of immigrants that came to this country looking for a better life. I stand here before you as a black woman, as a woman of color, as a mother, as a grandmother, as a sister, as a daughter. I stand here before you as a human being. Forget color. The moment you decide to choose love over hate, all of this will become but a memory, much less a necessity. Every time we raise a flag out of awareness, it's because somebody chose hate over love. That needs to stop. It should end today, but we know there's work to do, right? We understand that there's work to do. Say yes if you understand. Yes. There's still work left to do. Say yes if you understand. Yes. Love is the only way that we can get out of this struggle. Love is the only way that we're going to win this battle and triumph in this war. Because hate is what allows for police brutality. Hate is what allows for racism. Because love does not hurt, love does not injure, and freedom of speech should not cost nobody nothing. The instant it costs somebody something, it's too expensive. So don't say it. Choose love over hate. Teach your children to choose love over hate. It's taught, it's learned, it's not something that you're born with. If you watch babies play, they don't know the difference. They just have fun. The difference at the end of the day is, are you a good person or are you a bad person? Do you choose hate or do you choose love? Let's fly less flags for awareness. Let's fly more flags for joy. Let's fly less flags for the need to survive. Let's fly less flags for the need to be recognized and seen. Let's fly more flags to celebrate each other. Let's fly more flags in the name of unity. That is all. There's no difference between hating a uniform and hating a skin tone, between hating a texture of hair or the shape of a nose or the size of lips. It's all hate. The double standard is not supposed to continue, because if it does, we will perish. Thank you, City of Salem. The first stage, let me say this because my throat, I've been yelling a lot. The first stage I ever stood on was in Old Town Hall. Everything you see and feel today from me was born in this city. You understand? Was born in this city because Frank Wallace and Nancy Knowles, folk singers from around the world, took on a little girl because they saw magic in her, and they were not people of color. Love wins.
And now we're going to hear the Black National Anthem sung by Eva Davenport, and we are going to raise the Juneteenth flags. Julio, do you have people to raise each flag? They're already in place? Okay, Eva, take it away.
Thank you, everybody. Can we say Happy Juneteenth together? Happy Juneteenth! Sing along with me. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won.
This concludes the ceremony. Thank you all for coming. Happy Juneteenth, everyone. Thanks so much.